Bent over barbell row. Now, great exercise for back development. When performing this exercise, you can have the bar set on the rack for ease of setup, or it can be on the floor. It doesn't really matter too much with this movement. Now, just for explanation purposes, I'm going to be performing this exercise the opposite way you should be doing it if you're using a rack. Reason being, for safety reasons, if I was to perform this movement, I'd want to face the rack, take the bar off, perform my exercise, and then put it back. If I'm not facing the rack and I go to put it back, there's a very real risk that I can miss and slip when I'm trying to put it on the attachment. So that's just an easy way to reduce any sort of margin of error that can potentially happen. So you always want to be facing the rack. But again, for demonstration purposes, I'm going to be doing the opposite way. All right, let's get into it. So when determining your grip, you're just going to select shoulder width or just outside shoulder width. Nothing really wider than that and nothing narrower than shoulder width. Making sure your grip is even, firm grip, hands are overhand on the bar, standing up, walking out away from the rack. Before we get into the movement, we're going to slightly bend our knees. We're going to pull our shoulders back, sticking out our chest, and then we're going to hinge down into the movement like an RDL. Down, down, down till I feel a good stretch in the hamstrings. Back is nice and flat and I'm shifting my weight onto my heels. And then I'm just going to perform the row. Going through a full range of motion through the shoulder, getting good stretch, squeeze, stretch, squeeze, stretch, squeeze. Not using any momentum as I perform the exercise. Now, some things to keep in mind, common mistakes when people perform this exercise. Using momentum, so they'll just shrug it. You don't want your shoulders to be shrugging up. You want to have relaxed neck and you want to be pulling the elbows back and the bar back into you, almost to your belly button. That's about a good point, a point of reference. But more importantly, it's the setup position they're in. So oftentimes, the most common mistake is people will be in an upright position like this. The problem with this position is one, we're not going to effectively use our lats. This is more sort of targeting your upper back, your traps, which is not the goal of this exercise. And two, it's reducing your range of motion. So I'll give you an example. If I'm only bent here, look how much range I get with my arms, right? Not much. Whereas if I tip all the way over to where I'm horizontal now with the floor, look at all that extra range of motion I then get. Right? More range of motion means better stimulation of the muscle, means a more effective exercise. So in order to work on that, there are two things you should really keep in mind. One, really make sure you're keeping your weight on your heels and shifting your hips back as you set up. The reason we can push our hips back so far is because we've got that weight in front of us to counterbalance. So again, hips back, weight on the heels. And second, and more importantly, you should feel a lengthening sensation on your hamstrings. So I know I'm in my correct position. One, I can feel it, but two, I can feel the lengthening sensation on my hamstrings. So I know I'm pretty much at my max, and this is the position I want to be performing the exercise from. So those are some things you can keep in mind when performing the exercise, and that way you'll know if anything's off.